When you've got, two structural trends, meaning there's two modes of deposition-ish, you have a better chance of generating something big. Confirming the continuity at depth, knowing that also the structures are open along strike, it's a winning formula. Of course, you have to test these things, but so far so good. And on top of that, the advantage of having a mill. But here we're not dealing with a narrow structure at all. We're dealing with, it's a combined two-phase gold deposition here. So there's a structural complexity, which still has yet to be, let's say, unraveled. But yeah, I would say, it's the upside is very good, when you see these types of intersects from drilling.
This video is disseminated on behalf of LaFleur Minerals. Maximus Strategic Consulting owns and operates Pinnacle Digest and has been paid by LaFleur Minerals to provide marketing services. Maximus also owns shares and warrants of LaFleur Minerals. This is not investment advice. In January of this year, Fresnillo, the world's largest primary silver producer, completed its approximate $770 million all-cash acquisition of Probe Gold. And today we will be joined with its former VP of Exploration. LaFleur Minerals is advancing its Swanson Gold project, located just 66 kilometers north of Val-d'Or, while also preparing for the potential near-term restart of gold production at its wholly owned Beacon Gold Mill, 19 kilometers east of Val-d'Or. Unlike many junior gold companies exploring remote ground with little infrastructure, LaFleur is pursuing a more integrated strategy. Grow the Swanson resource, leverage historical work, and connect that project to an existing permitted mill in one of Canada's most established gold mining camps. Marc Ducharme is joining the company as its new Vice President of Exploration after his most recent role as Vice President of Exploration at Probe Gold. Marc, welcome to the Pinnacle Digest podcast. First off, congratulations on your success with Novador and Probe Gold. What does the current landscape look like for gold explorers in Canada today?
It's looking great. Who would have thought gold would have attained, $5,000 US? Back in the day, some people predicted it, and I guess they weren't wrong. But of course, who would have predicted the geopolitical hoopla that we're going through on the planet right now?
Let's talk about Val-d'Or. This is a region you're very familiar with. Talk to us about your career there, and why do you keep coming back to this region?
Okay, so Val-d'Or, I've been in Val-d'Or since 1988. So 3 days after graduated, I went to Concordia University in Montreal. I worked for the government, did a lot of mapping and compilation work. Started, getting involved with, let's say, junior exploration in 1990. So I've been at it for 30, 37 or whatever years. First mine I worked at was Kena. I was under Placer Dome. Of course, my first home was a log house in a mining village. So Val-d'Or basically came about 1934, Lamac, 1934, and then the year later, the sister mine, which is Sigma. They're both world-class producers, both upstairs of 5 million ounces each. Of course, Lamac is still going, and of course, there's several deposits historically. An incredible story about the history of Val-d'Or, and of course, all the mines that developed. They would basically, sample, find a vein, strip it out, sample it, and then they'd sink their shaft right there, and then start doing their levels, and that was the old style of mining on rails and et cetera. So there are a lot of those that existed in the past. Things have changed, of course, with the mining methods, et cetera.
Now you're set to join a little-known company, LaFleur Minerals, at what they believe to be a very significant moment for them. Now, I'm talking about the Swanson Gold Project, which has been around for decades. I'm sure you're familiar with it. But many of the previous operators failed to drill deep. Can you speak to the significance of these most recent results, both the ones in April and the ones just now?
So we're dealing with, a package of geology, which has at least two structural, let's say, trends. And with that, we're seeing, large, tens of meters or like 150 meters at 2 grams, above 2 grams, for instance. So style mineralization basically covers its veinless, but of course you get stockworks, etc. So there's a geological play going on between the ductile and the brittle ductile. And when you've got two structural trends, meaning there's two modes of deposition ish, then you have a better chance of generating something big, and that's basically how I see it in a nutshell. Confirming the continuity at depth, knowing that also the structures are open along strike. It's, for sure, it's a winning formula. Of course, you have to test these things, but so far so good.
Yeah, no, Mark, I mean, after success like you had with Probe, I'm sure you had, a number of different options. What made you specifically as it relates to LaFleur? Is it the location? Is it, the Beacon Mill?
First off, I know one of the senior advisors, so Jean LaFleur. So this team there. I don't know all the team. Of course, I'm getting to know the team, but Jean LaFleur, and I've known Louis also. Never worked with Louis directly, but I've known, we're all working in the same industry.
Yeah.
So I think just the confidence with who's behind that, offhand. But of course, yes, it's the projects are close to Val-d'Or. It's right in the same areas that, let's say, Probe's projects. So it's just more of the same, so like, and it just goes to show how underexplored the areas are, including Probe, of course, like the other projects. Mackenzie, it's not done. And of course, there are other projects as well as Quanah and Mejiscan, et cetera. You look at the evolution of Novador, and Novador, it's basically, you had the Belleville mine, you had the Money pit, which is just a small, very very small pit, and from drilling and of course expanding these models, they basically grew to, like, the combined 6 point something million for just Novador standalone.
Mm-hmm.
So and it's still not done, as far as I can tell. So
yeah, right.
so it's encouraging. Yeah. So of course I saw that and said, wow, okay, well, here's LaFleur, and they've got projects right in the same district, and and on top of that, the advantage of having a mill. It's for sure. You want to be able to be in that position to generate a future cash flow, just get into production environment, and and line it up so that you can generate revenue.
Absolutely. I'm sure there were many setbacks and challenges, with Probe and Novador. Are there some lessons, from that experience that you can apply directly to LaFleur Swanson Gold Project?
Well, yeah, setbacks, I would say, I guess, time wise, like, when can you drill? So that becomes so there are places you can drill, let's say, year round, but then oftentimes, the easy pickings have already been done. So you end up with areas that, well, your window of drilling is winter. So that's way, okay, well, if you want to be able to, cover, let's say, off phase in drilling, call it an expansion phase, or combined, let's say, infill to expansion, then you got to gauge, okay, well, how many drills do I need, going, and availability of drills, because as projects, advance, we're competing with other companies for the same limited number of drill rigs.
Yeah.
So that's one of the challenges, I can say. Yeah, the rate off
Is that
time. Yeah.
Is that going to be one of your lead roles? Like, just the logistics of drilling, timing? Like, do you have a lot of things going on in your mind in terms of strategy?
It's part of it. Yeah. Because you want to make sure, like, you can plan, the best scenarios, but you got to make sure that they're all aligned with who's available to do what, and that too is a key factor.
I love your emphasis on drilling. How many meters would you like to drill in the next 6 months, for example?
Well, yeah, I look at more of an annual thing. Probably, I would say minimum 50,000 meters, something like that, something which I'm used to.
Yeah.
It's a kind of a recipe I've done at West Dome, drilling off barges on a lake. I know we did a bit more at Probe. We did 69,000, but it includes condemnation drilling, etc. So, but yeah, ballpark number, I would say, start off with a 50,000 meter drilling program.
LaFleur is unique because it has this permitted mill right in the heart of Val-d'Or. Now, when you looked at the Beacon Gold Mill, what was the first thing you wanted to understand from an operational standpoint?
Well, is the thing gonna run? That was the first thing. And I was actually happy to bump into Roger Jolicoeur, which I knew from the days at Placer Dome. So he was the mill super at the time at Gina Mine. So I was like, wow, okay, well, and he's like, he's close to 80 years old, but he's still there and very sharp. So that was reassuring, like knowing that he knows mills like the back of his hand, and so he has basically set up different, he observed a lot of things that need to be, let's say, corrected at the mill, including, let's say, the crushing and the feed, and of course the linings and all that, But yeah, I would say it's a small mill, so it's call it 750 ton per day mill. It is expandable to 1250, from my understanding. Can it go beyond that? Well, that will probably require more capital expense, of course, in the future.
April 21st, the company put out news. Some of the drilling highlights: 2.29 grams per ton gold over 68 meters, 1.18 grams per ton gold over 255 meters, 1.65 grams per ton gold over 136 meters.
So there's knee-jerk reactions that certain investors. But then after that, like, well, can you replicate or can you repeat these, these intersects? And so that's kind of like the steady as she goes. Of course, we're competing with other projects.
Just recently, the company confirmed strong continuity with 2.95 grams per ton gold over 80 meters and 2.37 grams per ton gold over 88 meters. What exploration milestone, do you believe would prove Swanson is becoming a larger gold system?
Because of the size of these intersects, right off the bat, I think it's really the modeling that will take place, and of course, confirming the trends, meaning drill off the trends and keep adding to those trends. Thus you'll add to your deposit model. So I wholeheartedly believe, if you were dealing with something very narrow, then okay, well, it'll peter out, and that's usually the risk, say, okay, well, how, but here we're not dealing with a narrow structure at all. We're dealing with it's combined, it's a two-phase gold deposition here. So there's a structural complexity, which still has yet to be, let's say, unraveled, clear cut. But I would say, it's the upside is very good, when you see these types of intersects from drilling. And the thing is that you drill, and of course, will you understand it 100%? First off, no. Yeah, it's like trying to understand a 1,000-piece puzzle with, let's say, call it 150 pieces, and that's when you actually have an understanding of the deposit at 150 pieces.
For sure. Well, Marc, again, congratulations with your success at Probe, and welcome to the LaFleur team. They're very lucky to have you, and thank you for your time today.
Hey, thank you. Yeah, no, I really appreciate it. I'm really pumped about the future for this company.